Okay, so we're going to be looking at a match that I played with Jack right here, and this is just going to be a quick instructory video on how to fly Zero, or really any defensive flying plane for that matter. So, yeah. Right now, we've climbed off from the carriers to over the central section of Saipan Island to get some altitude. The Americans did not climb very much this match, and I will preface this by saying we did end up losing the match, but that was because of airfield anti-air, and yeah. But this was an ace game for me, so um, yeah. So here we're coming in here. We decided to dive after not seeing anything around here, and you can see there's a significant amount of allied players down here, so we figured that it would be worth engaging. Now, with the altitude advantage in the Zero, you don't want to dive too fast. You don't want to, it can't go very fast. You'll rip your wings. You can't go much over 700 if that. I wouldn't push it that far. But you don't usually need to, because if you're diving on a target below you in the Zero, that usually means that it's an American going low and slow, and you don't need to be going 700. So, this first kill here, P-51, dead in a climb. Only shoot my 20s so I don't waste my small ammo, the 7.7s. It's not like I would have done much, but, you know, every round counts. This Corsair here, I do not kill on the initial pass, but, you know, you get the idea. So then, Zero is extremely maneuverable so that you can quickly come around, and believe he dies right about here. Yeah, he's going to take some shots at Jack here. He eats quite a bit beforehand. I think Jack actually hits me there. So then we have a P-47 coming in after Jack. And then again you see the agility of the Zero, in which it can just kind of instantly flop around. Now I do not hit all of my shots in this match. I'm not a god, but I feel like I'm pretty decent. The P-47 actually ends up getting away. And here shortly, something, I think I killed this Hellcat here. Something ends up jumping me soon, and that'll really show you the defensive flying abilities of the Zero. You know, you do some quick maneuvering out of the way of that Hellcat. You see, you kind of want to get them to come towards you, and you just avoid their line of sight like that. And then, because this thing does have such good energy retention in a turn, you can come right around on top of them. And I hear something. Yeah, see, I do some maneuvering here because I thought I heard something, and it was actually just the AI Hellcats there. I heard their engines, and you know, it's always better to do something defensive like that if you can't see a target than to assume that it's AI, you know, or assume that it's nothing. So, I'm not sure what happens here. Oh yeah, the P-47 comes back in, and see, you know, you cut in front of him and avoid his shots, get him to overshoot, and I think I take him out. See, he just flies in a straight line thinking he can get away with the speed, and no, he can't. You know, he didn't have enough energy to get away that quickly, and even so, the Zero can turn around so quickly like that. And so this is what I like to do. I like to get him in the faux head-ons, make them overshoot, think that they can still do their maneuver, and even when they try to bank away, you're still close enough. I mean, I could be closer to shoot, but I'm close enough to be within firing range and do damage. So I actually shot out his tail there, and into the drink he goes. So yeah, that shows you the defensive flying capabilities of this plane. That's how you usually want to handle any American plane. Now, if they have an altitude advantage or if they come in a head-on, that's usually what you want to do. Never take a head-on with an American plane, ever. But and actually shoot. You can faux a head-on like I did there, and or like fake a head-on, and you know, you roll out of the way. You watch where their line of fire is going to be, and you make sure you're not there when the bullets get to your location. Pretty self-explanatory. And in a second here, I actually get jumped by 3 P-38s, and this is where you see the potential that you can pull off in the Zero with defensive flying. As I said, I did end up losing this match, but I did not get shot down by any of these P-38s from a solid 5 minutes of them attacking me. So, think it happens shortly. One of them, I do actually end up living because I notice him, and then I assumed it was only him, and another one comes in from, I believe, the up on the left, and he actually ends up missing me. Yeah, right here, which is lucky. But, you know, again, this is kind of what you want to do with something like that. I would have pulled up and taken the shot here more if there wasn't more P-38s, see? When there's more targets like that, you're limited. Even if you get a good shot, you can't take it because you're making yourself vulnerable. And again, here, that would have been a good shot too. Well within range, but there's also 2 other P-38s that I have to worry about. And perhaps I could have done that and had time because they're kind of far away, but you don't want to risk it, you know? So I'm in this situation, when I'm flying here, I'm always looking at the enemy plane. I'm not even, like, I actually come close to hitting the water a couple times because I'm not looking there. I'm making sure that I'm never in the line of sight of these guys, you know? So here, I come towards this J2M to see if he can help me out. I believe he just gets shot immediately. I think he goes head-on or something like that, which, with a P-38, you don't really want to do. Not the best armament, but it's condensed in the nose, you know? All 3 of them directly behind me, and I kind of, you know, turning low like that makes it hard for them to track. Yeah, that J2M gets shot down. So, because there's 3 of them, they start getting kind of cocky and doing close turns like this with me, and I'm already low on cannon ammo because I've engaged those other guys and wasn't 100% accurate with my shots. Throughout the most of this engagement, I'm actually beating them. Like here, this is potentially a kill, but I don't have any cannon ammo. If I did, he would probably have been killed, and that happens a couple more times. 7.7s on the 0 are not very reliable. But again, see, I got a quick shot off there. When you're fighting a more than a 1v1, or anything where you're at a numbers disadvantage, you can't stay on your target more than you usually would. Or you can't stay on as much as you usually would, more so. Because you have to, you know, you don't want to become vulnerable. So, you know, the essential idea is for me here to get back to the carriers all the way over here and survive this engagement with the 3 P-38s. And I've done pretty well so far. And this is, like I said, it's all based on looking where they're going to be shooting and where they're aimed and not being there. And the 0 is the perfect plane, pretty much the best plane in the game to be able to do that because it maneuvers so well and it has good energy retention in turns. And it's really a defensive flyer's dream. The only problem is that the armament's kind of lacking, which you usually want something good on a defensive flying plane like this, so that when you do have the enemy overshoot you and you intercept them in that split-second shot, when you hit, you actually do something instead of having these 7.7s, you know? So we're going to skip ahead here a little bit. I think I'm wepping and going as fast as I can to get to the carriers because they're the only thing that I can rely on at this point. And I managed to keep the distance for a bit, but a P-38 is going to catch up to me. And now you see, I'm keeping the range between us in which they can't reliably shoot at me. And then when he gets too close, I end up deciding to engage and come around. And I end up actually killing him there. You want to aim for the cockpit with these 7.7s, because that's the most reliable thing you can do is pilot snipe with them. Because you probably won't do much else, or damage the engine. You can take off a wing, but it's unlikely. So now it's a 1v2. And the same thing happens a couple times where I get some good shots off, but the armament's too weak. This is almost right here very similar to what... No, there's another shot very similar to like when I killed the pilot of that last guy, but I don't hit the cockpit reliably. And again, I'm looking at this guy, looking where he's aiming, making sure I'm not there, making myself a hard target to hit by doing erratic maneuvers, you know? Yeah, I didn't get the rudder in on there. And this whole time I'm tracking both targets. I'm constantly looking back and forth. I didn't record this as it was happening, so I can't show you what my camera view was when it was actually happening, and I'm actually having trouble right now keeping track of all... Come on, camera. Keeping track of these targets at the same time. It can be pretty difficult to do so, but yeah. And this whole time I'm using full elevation deflection, by the way. I almost get hit here. If he would have shot there, I might have been hit, but you know, sometimes this comes down to luck, or the enemy not shooting. Again, coming up here, this is a pretty good shot. I think I take it for a bit, because the other one has gone off and away. I end up crippling him there. I don't know what I crippled, but it was enough to make them both bugger off. Yeah, so then I believe after this, there's a couple more turns, if any, and then I think we both go our own ways. But yeah, P-38 tries to get one last shot in, and then he just goes off with his friend. And then I take this opportunity to go to the carriers and rearm. And then after that, they both go to A, which the U.S. team was captured at that point, and they're both low and slow, and easy kills for me. But I ended up getting hit by one of the small anti-air things there, and set on fire and died. Just shit luck, And I had already put a bunch of bullets into both of them, and they probably both would have gone down, but I died first, so that's a real shame. But essentially, that's how you want to fly the Zero. You always want to be looking behind you and at your enemies. You really want to look at your opponent's planes more than your own. And then you really ever come back to that forward position of like aiming down the sights, if you will, when you've turned around back onto the enemy after they've overshot or whatever the situation is. So yeah, that's about it.